The moment this story started circulating, it felt like the kind of rumor that grabs the entire league by the collar and refuses to let go. Behind closed doors, whispers grew louder after the Cowboys formally voiced their frustration, and what was once brushed off as background noise suddenly became front and center across the NFL landscape. According to people close to the situation, the complaint itself wasn't shocking, because teams complain all the time, but what followed absolutely was new images, quietly shared among league circles before exploding into conversation, reportedly showed angles and sequences that many insiders had never seen before. The Cowboys believe those visuals tell a story that words alone could not, and they feel it puts the league in a position where silence is no longer an option. Around the NFL, executives, coaches, and even players are said to be reacting not with public outrage, but with careful concern, because they know how delicate these situations can become. This isn't just about one team feeling wronged, at least not anymore. It has turned into a larger discussion about consistency, accountability, and how the league handles moments that sit in uncomfortable gray areas. When a franchise as high profile as the Cowboys speaks up, people listen, and when images start circulating, the pressure multiplies fast as the rumor continues to evolve. There is a growing sense that the league itself may be preparing to act, even if no one wants to say it out loud just yet. Sources suggest that internal conversations have intensified, with officials reviewing processes, decisions, and interpretations that previously flew under the radar. What makes this situation especially tense is the idea that these new images allegedly challenge earlier assumptions, creating a narrative gap that the league now has to address. The Cowboys camp reportedly believes the visuals raise serious questions, not just about a single moment, but about how similar situations may have been handled across the league from a broader perspective. That's where things get uncomfortable, because acknowledging one potential mistake can open the door to many others. Fans, meanwhile, are left piecing together clues, debating online, and forming their own theories, fueling the rumor mill even further. The NFL has always prided itself on control of messaging, but moments like this test that control in ways that feel unpredictable. If the league does move towards some form of sanction, it won't just be about discipline. It will be about restoring confidence in a system that thrives on perceived fairness. Inside the Cowboys organization, the mood is said to be a mix of frustration and cautious optimism. Frustration, because they believe this issue should never have reached this point. And optimism, because the reaction around the league suggests they might finally be heard. People familiar with the situation claim the team didn't rush into filing a complaint, but rather collected information, reviewed footage, and weighed the potential backlash before stepping forward. That calculated approach adds weight to the rumor, because it implies a level of confidence in what they believe the images show. At the same time, the Cowboys know how quickly public opinion can swing, and how easily a narrative can shift from sympathy to skepticism. That's why much of this remains framed as speculation, with careful language and controlled leaks rather than bold accusations. Around the locker room, players are said to be aware of the chatter, even if they aren't speaking publicly about it. They understand that any league response could ripple far beyond this single situation, potentially shaping how similar moments are handled in the future. For now, everyone waits, watches, and listens, knowing that the next move likely comes from the league office itself. What makes this rumor particularly gripping is the idea that the images themselves are described as shocking, not because they show something completely unprecedented, but because they allegedly highlight inconsistencies in a league built on precision, rules, and interpretation. Inconsistency is the one thing that can undermine trust faster than almost anything else. According to those who have seen the footage, the angles raise questions that weren't fully addressed the first time around, and that's where the pressure mounts. The Cowboys reportedly believe the league's response will signal how seriously it takes transparency moving forward. Other teams, even those with no direct involvement, are paying close attention, because they know today's controversy could be tomorrow's precedent. This isn't just Cowboys versus the league. In the eyes of insiders, it's a test case for how power, accountability, and image management collide. Fans may see it as drama, but for decision makers, it's about maintaining the delicate balance between authority and credibility. And once credibility is questioned, every future call, review, and ruling comes under sharper scrutiny. As speculation grows, there is also talk about how the league might frame any potential sanction, should it choose to go that route. Some believe it could be subtle, almost procedural, designed to address the issue without amplifying it. Others think a stronger statement may be necessary, especially given how widely the rumor has spread. The challenge lies in acknowledging concerns without validating every theory circulating online. From the Cowboys' perspective, even a measured response could feel like vindication, a sign that their voice carried weight. From the league's perspective, it's about closing the chapter without opening too many new ones. This tension is what keeps the rumor alive, feeding speculation with every quiet meeting and every delayed statement. People around the NFL understand that silence can sometimes speak louder than words, and right now, the silence feels heavy. Whether that breaks soon or stretches further remains part of the intrigue that has everyone watching. At its core, this story reflects the unique position the Cowboys hold within the NFL ecosystem. When they raise concerns, it rarely stays contained. Their brand, their fan base, and their history amplify everything, turning internal matters into league-wide conversations. The emergence of these new images has only intensified that effect, giving the rumor visual fuel that's hard to ignore. Even those who remain skeptical admit that something feels different about this situation, as if it has crossed an invisible line from routine complaint to potential turning point. The league's promise of action, even if vaguely defined, has added another layer of anticipation. Everyone is trying to read between the lines, searching for clues about what comes next, and in a league where perception often becomes reality, this rumor has already reshaped the conversation. Regardless of how it ultimately resolves, as the days pass and the discussion refuses to cool down, the speculation surrounding a possible league sanction continues to gain depth and complexity. Insiders suggest that the NFL is acutely aware of how this situation is being perceived, not just by fans, but by its own teams. The emergence of those images has reportedly forced internal reviews that go beyond surface-level explanations, prompting questions about procedure, oversight, and communication. For the Cowboys, the hope is that this moment leads to clarity, even if it doesn't bring the kind of dramatic outcome some fans are imagining. For the league, the challenge is managing a response that feels firm yet measured, decisive yet controlled. This balancing act is what fuels the rumor mill, because every delay, every carefully worded statement, becomes another piece of evidence for those looking to decode intent. The NFL has long been a master of narrative control, but moments like this reveal how fragile that control can be. When new information surfaces unexpectedly, there is also growing talk about how other teams are reacting behind the scenes, quietly monitoring the situation and considering what it could mean for them down the line. While no one wants to publicly align themselves with controversy, there is an unspoken understanding that the outcome here could set a tone for future disputes if the league demonstrates a willingness to acknowledge concerns raised by the Cowboys. It may encourage other franchises to be more assertive when they feel wronged. On the flip side, a muted response could reinforce the idea that pushing the hard carries risks. This undercurrent of strategic thinking adds another layer to the rumor, making it less about one complaint and more about power dynamics within the league. Coaches and executives are said to be discussing this quietly, framing it as a learning moment rather than a spectacle. In that sense, the Cowboys may have already influenced the conversation. Regardless of what the final resolution looks like, from a fan perspective, the speculation has taken on a life of its own, with debates fueled by emotion, loyalty, and interpretation. Some see the Cowboys' complaint as overdue, a necessary stand against perceived inconsistency. Others worry that the situation is being blown out of proportion, shaped more by narrative than substance. The images at the center of the rumor have become almost mythical, discussed in detail by those who claim to understand their significance and dismissed by others who remain unconvinced. This split reaction is exactly what makes the league's potential response so important. Any action, or lack thereof, will be filtered through these competing perspectives, shaping how the NFL's credibility is judged. In a sport where trust in officiating and governance is essential, perception matters nearly as much as reality. The Cowboys themselves are said to be walking a careful line, maintaining public restraint while privately pushing for accountability. This approach reflects an understanding of how quickly sympathy can turn into backlash if a team appears too aggressive. By allowing the rumor to circulate without aggressively feeding it, they keep pressure on the league without escalating the conflict. That restraint has earned them quiet respect in some circles, even among rivals who might otherwise be quick to criticize. At the same time, it raises expectations, because if the league does respond, Many will interpret it as validation of the Cowboys' concerns. This dynamic creates a strange sense of anticipation, where both action and inaction feel meaningful. Every move, or non-move, becomes part of the story. Speculation about the form of any potential sanction continues to vary widely, ranging from procedural adjustments to more symbolic gestures. Some believe the league may focus on internal corrections, addressing the issue without public fanfare. Others think the visibility of the Cowboys and the intensity of the reaction make some form of acknowledgement unavoidable. What seems clear is that whatever happens will be carefully framed, designed to close the issue while protecting the league's broader image. The NFL understands that precedent matters, and that how it handles this situation could influence future disputes. This awareness adds weight to every rumor, every leaked comment, and every delayed announcement. In the end, this story may be remembered less for its final outcome and more for what it revealed about the league's inner workings. The combination of a high-profile franchise, a formal complaint, and newly surfaced images created a perfect storm of speculation. Even if the league's response turns out to be understated, the conversation it sparked will linger. Teams, fans, and observers will remember how quickly a single issue expanded into a league-wide debate. That memory alone can shape behavior moving forward, subtly influencing how concerns are raised and addressed. For now, the rumor remains just that, a swirling mix of speculation, anticipation, and quiet tension. The Cowboys wait, the league deliberates, and the rest of the NFL watches closely, whether this leads to a clear sanction, a quiet adjustment, or something in between. The story has already left its mark. It reminds everyone that in a league built on structure and authority, even a hint of uncertainty can send shockwaves far beyond its original source. And until the league finally speaks in a definitive way, those shockwaves will continue to ripple, keeping this rumor alive in the collective conversation. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. The speculation continues to stretch on, and what keeps this rumor alive is not just what has been seen, but what has not yet been explained around the league. There is a sense that the NFL is carefully choosing every step, aware that a rushed response could create more problems than it solves. Insiders whisper that internal reviews are layered and slow by design, meant to protect the league's authority while quietly addressing concerns. For the Cowboys, this waiting game is both strategic and exhausting, because patience can be interpreted as confidence, but it can also test the loyalty of a passionate fan base hungry for answers. The longer the silence lasts, the more space there is for imagination to fill the gaps, and that imagination often runs wild. Analysts debate hypotheticals, former players share cryptic opinions, and every vague comment from league circles is dissected as if it carries hidden meaning. In this environment, even routine league activity is viewed through a suspicious lens, reinforcing the idea that something significant is unfolding behind closed doors. This atmosphere of uncertainty has become part of the story itself, shaping how the rumor is perceived and remembered. What adds another layer of intrigue is the belief that this situation could quietly influence future league operations, even if no major announcement is ever made. Some around the NFL believe that lessons learned here will show up later in subtle changes, altered communication, or revised internal emphasis, rather than in headline-grabbing discipline. If that happens, the Cowboys' complaint would still carry weight, even without a dramatic conclusion. That possibility keeps teams attentive, because influence does not always come in loud, obvious forms. Sometimes it appears in how quickly concerns are addressed next time, or how openly explanations are shared. For a league that thrives on structure, even small shifts can signal deeper change. Fans may never know exactly what was said in those meetings or how those images were evaluated, but the ripple effects could still be felt over time. In that sense, this rumor represents more than a single dispute. It represents a moment where the balance between authority and accountability was tested, even if the results remain largely behind the curtain. Ultimately, this ongoing speculation highlights how fragile trust can be in a league built on rules and interpretations. The Cowboys' willingness to push back, combined with the shock value attributed to the images, created a narrative that refuses to fade quietly. Whether the league chooses to close the book with a firm statement or let the story slowly lose momentum, the questions raised will linger. Fans will remember the tension, the silence, and the feeling that something important was being weighed out of public view. For the NFL, that memory matters. Because credibility is not only built on decisions, but on how those decisions are communicated. As long as clarity remains elusive, this rumor will continue to circulate, reshaped by opinion and fueled by anticipation. And in a league where perception often becomes part of reality, that lingering uncertainty may be the most lasting consequence of all. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.